There comes a moment in life, a quiet, almost unnoticed shift, when the days begin to stretch out a little more gently, when the calendar isn't crowded with obligations and the phone doesn't ring quite as often. The mornings arrive with less urgency and the evenings settle with more ease. At first, this can feel strange, even disorienting. For so long, we've been running through bells, through responsibilities, through seasons that demanded everything from us. We've moved quickly, often without pause, because that's what life seemed to ask of us. We became experts at multitasking, at doing more than one thing at a time, at putting everyone else first. Slowing down was never really part of the plan. It almost felt like weakness or a sign we were falling behind, because the world never stopped, and so we didn't either. We were caught in the rhythm of urgency, moving from one thing to the next without really catching our breath. But now something is different. The rhythm has softened. The demands have lessened. There's a new kind of space in the day, an open, unfamiliar space. And we're left to wonder, what do we do with this pause? What does it mean when life begins to slow? There is discomfort in the beginning. Silence can feel like loneliness. Stillness can feel like emptiness. But what if this quiet isn't something to fear? What if the slowing down is not an ending, but an invitation? What if it's not about what's missing, but what's finally being made room for? Today, I want to talk about that, about the gift of slowing down, about what we gain when we stop rushing, and how this pause, this gentle, unhurried space, might just be where the deepest parts of life begin. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Rush, What We Leave Behind. Most of us were raised in a culture that celebrated speed. The more you did, the more valuable you were. Being busy was a badge of honor. Tiredness meant you were working hard. Sacrifice was expected. We learned early on to keep going, to push through, to achieve. We worked long hours. We raised children. We took care of aging parents. We said yes when we were exhausted. We showed up even when we didn't have anything left to give. We got used to rushing through life because slowing down felt indulgent, or worse, lazy. We lived our lives in motion, and that motion gave us a sense of purpose. It made us feel useful, needed, alive. But in all that doing, we sometimes missed the being. We hurried past moments that could have become memories. We put off joy. We said, someday, when things calm down. We sacrificed rest because there was always more to do. And in all of that noise and movement, it was easy to lose parts of ourselves. The parts that loved to sit in stillness. The parts that wanted to simply be. Now, as life has slowed, whether by choice or by circumstance, we're faced with a new reality. The pace is different. The days are quieter, and it brings up something we didn't expect: grief. Not just for what's gone, but for what we missed. The long walks we didn't take, the books we didn't finish, the conversations we postponed. And it's okay to feel that. It's okay to feel a little lost in the quiet, but we are not broken. We are simply entering a new season, one that isn't built on urgency, but on presence. One that asks us to look at what we've left behind and decide what we want to carry forward. Because maybe, just maybe, it's not about doing more anymore. Maybe now it's about doing things differently, with intention, with awareness, with heart. Chapter 2. The Quiet That Holds Us. The quiet used to make me uncomfortable. Maybe it made you feel the same. In the silence, old thoughts would rise. Memories we tucked away came back. Feelings we didn't have time to feel before began to surface. In the stillness, we are confronted with ourselves, and that can be hard. But over time, if we stay with it, the silence starts to shift. It doesn't feel so empty anymore. It begins to feel full, full of life, full of memory, full of wisdom. The quiet becomes a place of healing, a place where our hearts can finally exhale. We begin to realize that slowing down isn't stopping, it's listening. Listening to what life has been trying to say all along, listening to our bodies, listening to our breath, listening to the small, sacred whispers that were drowned out by the noise of our busyness. In the quiet, we become reacquainted with our own company. We rediscover our thoughts, our humor, our grace. We notice things we never saw before. The way the light filters through the curtains in the afternoon. The way birds return to the same tree each morning. The way our heart softens when we stop trying to hold everything together. We begin to see that the quiet is not our enemy. It is our teacher. It is the gentle companion we didn't know we needed. And in its presence, we begin to come home to ourselves. Chapter 3. Seeing with new eyes. There's a certain magic that happens when we slow down. Life reveals its beauty in new ways. We no longer measure days by what we checked off the list, but by what we noticed. A smile from a stranger, the smell of dinner cooking, the softness of a warm blanket on a cold evening. Slowing down lets us pay attention to the things we used to rush past. We see the faces of the people we love more clearly. We hear the stories behind their eyes. We taste our food instead of just eating it. We linger in conversation. We let the silence between words speak as loudly as the words themselves. It's as though we've been given new eyes, eyes that aren't searching for what's next, but are finally seeing what is. We begin to appreciate things that once felt ordinary, a song that reminds us of someone we loved, a photo tucked inside a drawer, the way our pet follows us from room to room. The world hasn't changed, but our awareness has, and that awareness turns the mundane into the miraculous. This kind of seeing doesn't come from speed. It comes from stillness, from being present, from choosing to slow down enough to actually live the moments we're in. Chapter 4. Redefining purpose in the pause. One of the hardest things about this season of slowing down is the question, what is my purpose now? For so long, our roles gave us purpose. Parent, provider, caregiver, leader. Our identities were wrapped in what we did. And when those roles shift, it can feel like something inside us is missing. But purpose isn't only found in doing. It's found in being, in presence, in the quiet ways we show up. Maybe your purpose now is to listen deeply when someone needs to talk, to share your story so others feel less alone, to tend a garden, to sit with someone in silence, to pass on wisdom, to love with your whole heart. Purpose doesn't have to be big or loud or public. Sometimes the most sacred purposes are the quietest ones, the ones no one sees but everyone feels. You are not done. Your life is not over. You are in a different chapter, but that chapter matters just as much as any that came before, maybe even more, because now you get to be intentional. Now you get to choose what you give your time and heart to. Now you get to define purpose in a way that fits the person you've become. Chapter 5. Embracing this gift fully. So how do we open ourselves to this gift? How do we learn to embrace the pause instead of resisting it? We begin by accepting that slowing down is not something to fix. It's something to receive. We start paying attention to what fills us and what drains us. We let ourselves rest without guilt. We create space for small joys. A cup of coffee sipped slowly. A favorite song played on repeat. A walk at dusk with no destination. We allow ourselves to do things simply because they bring us peace, not because they're productive, not because they prove anything, just because they make us feel alive. We connect with others in deeper ways, not just through quick updates, but through honest, heart-to-heart conversations. We surround ourselves with people who value the pace we're in, who don't rush us, who walk with us, And maybe most of all, we forgive ourselves for the years we didn't know how to rest. We offer ourselves compassion for the way we push through, and we choose now to be gentler with ourselves, with others, with life. Finally, a life well lived, one breath at a time. So if you find yourself in a quieter chapter of life, where the phone rings less and the house is still, where the days stretch out gently instead of racing by, please don't mistake that for emptiness. Don't believe the old stories that tell you this silence means you've become less useful, less needed, or less alive. The world may not ask as much from you anymore, but that does not mean you have less to give. In fact, now, perhaps for the first time, you're being invited to give from a deeper place, not out of urgency, but from wisdom, not out of duty, but from love. Slowing down is not a retreat from life, it's a reunion with it. It's a homecoming to all the pieces of yourself that got pushed aside when the pace was too fast. The dreams you put on the shelf, the quiet joys you forgot how to notice, the softness in your own spirit that didn't always have a place in the hustle, all of it, every bit, is still here waiting for you in the quiet. This is not the end of your story. This is a new kind of beginning. There's beauty in this slower pace, there's honesty in it, and there's deep courage too. It takes strength to pause. It takes bravery to listen to your own soul, especially when the world tells you to keep going, keep pushing, keep performing. But you, my friend, you have nothing left to prove. You've walked through storms, you've built and rebuilt, you've given and loved and sacrificed, and now you get to receive, you get to rest. If this spoke to you, I'd love for you to be part of this growing community. Go ahead and like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. This space is for healing, for reflection, for real connection. Thank you for being here.